Hi, welcome to another episode from the Chart Readers. Hey, I've been so busy at work and I really apologize for not making videos as much as I used to. I have to make this during live hours. My rest of the day is pretty busy here. So you will see the percentages move. You will see the candles go up and down. And again, you know I care about the close more than regular hours, right? So just keep that in mind with everything that I say. But really strong sector here. You know, I often say you should read the comments, right? And I really don't say that to like boost my algorithms. I really say that because there are some amazing people that trade that are in this little community of ours, all right? So all five of these tickers were a comment from Think Tank not that long ago, maybe 5 days ago. The last one on the list was actually OMEX, and that has run more than 100% now, and it's actually gone about 10% higher at its peak, right? So there are way better traders than me that are part of this, and man, it's cool to see people share some thoughts and knowledge, right? So we're looking at the minerals here, right? And more than anything, we're looking at drill, baby, drill, right? That was a very loud quote that Trump made basically around the election inauguration time. And drill, baby, drill is more than just oil. It is minerals too, right? And with all the bans that are going on minerals, it makes sense. Hey, what are you doing? You trying to leave? Sorry, my cat. What are you doing? Get out of here. All right, that's one way to let me know. Excuse me. So again, the expectation here is if they're going to ban the import of minerals and you know different things that are used for batteries and whatnot, right? Well, we got to make them somewhere. We got to make them here, and these are basically different mineral excavators, right? So TMC, I've always liked this one because the CEO has a real good and strong connection with Trump. But again, all five of these are basically that same sector, right? The one thing that is also going on is the markets are improving, right? We look at QQQ. This is the strongest candle over the 8 and the 20 in a long time. And basically, we're looking for a run up to 480. The worst thing we would want is a drop to 450, right? But QQQ is looking well. SPY is the same candle, right? We either are going to go up to the 50 at 560. We don't want to drop to 530. And then even DIA, not quite over it, but again, this is a good strong candle right here. Hopefully the other indices do their thing and bring this up as well, right? So when the indices are good, when the ocean is calmer, it's easier for stocks to do better. These also have a little bit of, you know, import bans and the potential there, right? So real excited for all five of these, all right? So before we do go any further, though, and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. We have our 5 moving averages. There are horizontal support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video online with your friends. Comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much with these YouTube algorithms. But for real, just being here, giving me your time, oh, I'm so grateful for it, all right? So let's get into TMC. And I know it's really easy to focus on this candle. I know it's really easy to focus on the percent. Really, the fact that it's over all 5 moving averages is an easy place to focus and start. I have to start with the volume. All right. I don't know if you saw my initial video on TMC, but I think it was actually on this one. Maybe it was this one. I don't remember, but I was crazy excited about these volumes because as you zoom out, as you zoom out, as you zoom out, as you zoom out, the last time we had anything remotely near, no, these ones, remotely near these two was all the way back here in 22, right? And really that was just a single candle over 22 that broke it. As you keep going, these really were some of the best volume days ever, actually. And when you look at today, we still have a few hours of trading left, right? What time is it? My time, 10, 11, 12, 1. We still have about 3 hours, 2 hours and change, right? This was the biggest one a couple days ago. The volume was 40.7 million. we're already at 41. This is bigger than these two volumes, and it's only going to get big. Look, even if for whatever reason zero volume comes during the next hours, this is already bigger than these days, right? There is no such thing as negative volume, right? So volume is king, right? Volume is queen for the ladies watching this thing, and that's some volume right there, right? So loving what we're seeing. Again, I said it in the opening thoughts. TMC and all the tickers that we're about to look at, these are all drill baby drill stocks, right? There are mineral imports that are getting banned, right? The US, just because we can't import them doesn't mean we're not going to need them, right? So when you've got all these tickers that are looking at basically harvesting the minerals that aren't going to come in anymore, that's a good little something right there, right? I think I saw some comments that there was supposed to be some executive order signed. I don't think I've seen anything signed. Let me know if I'm wrong on that. But truth be told, I don't care that it hasn't been signed. And honestly, the longer it takes to sign, the better. Because we like rumors. You buy the rumor and you sell the news, right? Maybe I don't know if the sell the news is going to happen depending on what the executive order is, right? But right now, the rumors could be so many different things, right? There's so many different elements that could be in that executive order. And oh man, that's what brings 35% days, right? It's the rumor of what might be, right? When I zoom out, all right, and really there's a couple things I want to talk about, but the biggest thing to call out is if this thing can get over $4, right? My line is at 390. There is nothing but red, red, red up to 10, and you basically see that on both the daily and the weekly. So I like the similarities between that. I don't know if you saw it real quick or not, but look, the daily has been over all five moving averages for a while now. The weekly is now 2 weeks over that line, and this is a pretty good confirmation candle. Obviously, it's not Friday. We need to see where this candle closes, but that's a nice candle. That's a nice follow up. I mean, there's a lot to like here. So, um, on the daily, the RSI is only 71, and man, look at that MACD divergence, right? We have green over red on both. It looks like they're both going up pretty nicely. And again, I can't stress we already got 200,000 shares traded. It was 41.2. It's now zero point 0.4, right? There were days not that long ago where we couldn't even, like, this was 700,000 during the day, right? We got almost half of that in the couple minutes I've been speaking, right? So a lot of good things happening with volume. We have some lower indicators that are nice. And again, the indices look good, right? So I think this does have a good shot at 4. All right, I think the climb to that 391, whatever that number is, I'm basically rounding it to 4. I think that's realistic. I think the 71 all the way up there will probably take us to 80. When I look at the weekly too, the weekly's a little high. We're definitely at an 85, right? And I have to start ringing the alarm bell around 80. So maybe we do come kiss this. I talked about the difficulty of that line, kind of come back down, reset, and then on the next go. But really, there's a big test coming up at 4, and if this thing can break it, it seems really nice. All right. I think I'm just going to kind of chapter all of these together because again, the thoughts are the same. It's just the different charts and how you act accordingly, right? So USAR, look, I actually was in this not that long ago. It might have been on this candle. I don't really, maybe one of these candles. I really don't remember. But look, when TMC does well, this one seems to do well also. All right. And that's at least what I've been kind of, you find the sector, you find the ones that run with each other, and good things can happen. Right. So, I remember when TMC did well, this one did well, which makes me think maybe I traded it in that little window right there. I don't really know. But I see some good technical things, right? Even coming back to here. So we try to escape, we try to escape, we try to escape. We're seemingly try to escape again, right? So that's a doji, no confirmation. That's a good candle, but none of those are confirmation, right? That's a good candle. All of those are doji, none of those are confirmations. This is a good candle. Let's see what the next one does, right? So I know volume doesn't look amazing, right? Obviously, we were all the way at 10 million not that long ago, where we basically lost 90% and we're down to like 1 million, right? 80%, almost 2 million, right? But I like that we're at least holding the 50-day line, because this for sure looks like a pump up and a dump down, right? And I think it's a very easy argument, especially when I just said we lost 80% of the volume, right? That's a dump to most places, right? But I think if you can hold the 50-day line, I'm a little less inclined to call it a pump and dump. It's more of a pump and couldn't keep running. I don't know, right? That doesn't sound as pretty and rhymey, but we didn't dump as bad as an 80% drop sounds. You know what I mean? And really, I think a lot of it comes to we didn't lose all the moving averages. That was a scary moment. And hey, wicking all the way down to that was for sure a scary moment, but we never lost the 20, right? Good things happen over the 8 and the 20, and with the and the 20 was re-emphasized right here, right? So this is a decent candle. Really, that's not a bad place to close if we can just stay there for the day, because I care less about today and more tomorrow, right? We're now setting up to try to close over all the moving averages. I would say the bare minimum is 1180. Maybe I would be a little happier with like 1215 as a bare minimum, but truth be told, this 1270 is perfect, right? We really just got to break 1260, since 1258 is where the 8 moving average is, right? But this is trying to get back over all the moving averages and go. There is nothing but red, 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 and we might make another run up to 18. If it breaks 18, it's all-time highs. And hey, that's a lower RSI than TMC was, right? TMC is at 71. This thing's still in the 60s, right? So you give me all-time highs and I love it. I think the easy money line might be 1480. I think if you break 1480, it should be a good climb up to 18. If you break that 1850, oh man, that's all-time highs right there, right? So keep this one on your radar. There's not much on the weekly, right? This is pretty much a D-SPAC that's been trying, and volume's not that bad. I know it lost 80%, and most of the time I would easily say that's a dump, but hey, it held the 50-day line. Again, volume is king, right? Volume is queen. So sometimes you gotta watch how the crown is sometimes it's slanted, but it's still on the head. You know what I mean? So let me know your thoughts, let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Look, I think the theme so far, as we're looking at 3 stocks, I think there's 2 themes. Number one, there are moving average supports that are bouncing up. Right now, this one was the 100 moving average. USAR, I believe, was the 20 moving average, right? And then TMC, it was basically the 8. It just goes up to the 8, down to the 8, back up, right? So they're all using supports really nicely. The other thing is they all made that good little quick run. They all definitely dropped from that good run, but hey, they all at least are holding that 50-day line, right? That's not a bad thing. And again, today, as the markets are starting to improve, we're seeing that reinterest in the minerals, in the import bans, and so on and so forth, right? So I think the money line here is gonna be, let's call it 2680. That's basically half of this candle right here. It looks like it's the top of that one right there. I think that's a pretty good number. I think you can arguably say the money line might even be, let's just call it a flat 26. I think that gets you about 50% of this thing, almost the top of this thing, and you're actually into this thing. I think there's no such thing as safe, you know that, right? But 2614 might be arguably safe. And that's a nice little distance from that almost 27 right there, right? But again, we're trying to get back over all the moving averages right there, right? Where are we on the weekly? Trying to, oh man, look at that. Look at that, 2670. That's the number I actually set on the daily. So I like that 2670 just a little bit more. Really, the big money line is 2750. Excuse me, sorry about that. Get me over 2760, give or take. That's the big money line, because now you're also taking out all the moving averages on the weekly, let alone confirming this daily right there, right? But volume's looking good. MACD and RSI, MACD is definitely a little bit negative, but again, this is an even lower RSI than the last 2, so this one might be able to make a nicer little run right here. And I think knowing that the last 2 were able to recover the MACD and keep going, I think I'm kind of okay, even though it's negative, right? So that's not quite red over green. that one barely is. But MP, I would say this one's more of a momentum play, and you probably want at least like 12 million shares, right? So if we're looking for 12 million shares in a, oops, not two, sorry, 12 million shares in a 7 hour trading, you want about 2 million shares an hour. Get me 4 million in 2 hours. Excuse me, that's going to be big. And I mean, hey, if we're only at 6 right now, getting more than half in 2 hours would be pretty big right there, right? So I really like that 27. What was the number? 27. Yeah, 2760. Cool. I like that. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. AREC. This one's interesting. This one's interesting. All right. So this one reminds me of USAR, right? Because we've tried to escape. We couldn't. Maybe trying again. I think this one did a better job of holding that 50-day line. But this isn't bad because this didn't drop as much. This is actually holding the 8 moving average as it's going up, right? We haven't confirmed. That's a good candle. Doji don't count. None of those count. Even that doesn't count, right? But that's a really interesting doji. It's over the biggest candle to the left currently, and obviously we're still over the 8 moving average, right? RSI is a little high, but I think to me it's volume, all right? We're not over the white line like we were with USAR, but we're close enough to it. All right, definitely went from over 100 all the way down to 4. That's not a that's a pump and dump for sure. But again, we're holding the line as best as we can for what arguably would be a horrible dump, right? Like as I zoom in, we're basically there, right? So this is an interesting one. And hey, if this one can go up, I mean, there's not a lot. What are we looking for? That's your money line. 1, 2, 3. I'm actually gonna set that alert. I'll take 1, 2, 4. Break 1, 2, 3, and man, there's actually, because what's 1, 2, 3 right there? There's a nice path. I would say arguably to 140. And if 140 breaks, that'll go to 160, and that's basically what that wick right there was. So there's an interesting little path here. Otherwise, it's gonna fall to 104. And if it loses 104, it'll actually be a real fast drop, maybe to like 85. But I think there's actually this one's interesting. And again, I actually don't know this one very well. I'll be real honest, but I see the basic materials. They're doing coal. I don't know if coal is part of that export or not, but again, it's a mineral, right? So I'll take it for sure. So that's an interesting doji. You know I like interesting dojis. I always give it the 50-50 respect that it needs, but yeah, you saw those levels up as I went. This is a little bit noisier of a weekly, but again, I think I still also see that path to 150 on this thing right here. And again, yeah, if we lose that daily, this thing also does a real quick drop to the 80s as well. So yeah, I think we read the daily pretty well right here. Cool. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if we disagree. Hey, one more time. Look, when I started this channel, I assumed, and I don't want to use the word best trader, like, you know, I don't like to brag, right? But I assumed it'd be a whole mess of like new people trying to learn technicals and you know what I mean? Not better traders than me that have taught me so much in the last like 2 years, right? But for real, this ticker was in the comments, what, 4 days ago, 5 days ago, right? This was catchable. This was very, very much appreciated. And I always say this community is amazing. There are really good traders. By no means am I even on that top 10 of the people in this community. You know what I mean? So read the comments. I don't say that to boost my algos. You know nothing's financial advice, right? Like there are a lot of wrong comments and there are also right ones, right? But there are some really smart people, and I think the best thing is there are people that like sharing knowledge and stuff, and that doesn't happen often, all right? But big thank you again for this share, and yeah, I mean, interesting. Volume is king. Volume is queen for the ladies watching it. And again, I think that's what this screams, right? When you can go from volume down there to up here, amazing things will happen. I don't know if there was news or anything like that, but oh man, right? When the cluster of moving averages is down here, and you have a good channel all the way up here, and it's just a bunch of red, 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 green, 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 red, 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 green, 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 red, 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 green, these are all the things I say on all the different videos, right? And in a lot of ways, I always kind of say, hey, I don't think these are catchable, which is obviously the complete opposite of how I started this, right? Saying that homie caught it and shared it for us, but hey, once this got over the 100 moving average, it was in play, right? I would even say once it got over this line right here, that's a big candle to the left, and you're already into the biggest candle. I think catching this at 54 would have been realistic and riding it up to ones, right? So I don't even think you needed to catch the bottom for this thing to do well, and there were definitely points where it could have done well, right? What does it look like immediately? Oh man, this thing can actually this is an important moment. That's an important doji on an important moving average with the RSI kind of at a realistic 70, right? Like this can pop back up to 97, or we might see a quick drop to 83. Where's your 1 minute at? 1 minute's actually saying I want to go back up. So I think that's a decent feel here. Your 1 hour is a little hot, and that's a volume drop right there. Hour's gonna end in 10 minutes, so in 10 minutes, let's see where this ends. But yeah, those are the two numbers. It's either gonna come up to here to 98, or I think it's gonna come down to about 82, give or take. But overall, what matters tomorrow is gonna be a couple things. All right, let's at least give our thoughts here. I think the wow. I think tomorrow's target is going to be 113, or all right, we either go up to 113, I clicked at 110, so let's just call it 110, or we'll fall to 83, and if 83 doesn't hold, we drop to 70. I think that's my thoughts for this one. Obviously, if you get over 140, there's a lot of red, red, red up, right? But I think 140 might be a little too aggressive. But you can see as I click at the top of this one, that's basically where it takes us, right? So watch that 110 to 113. If that breaks, I'd start thinking 140. If 140 breaks, I mean, I'm zooming out and I don't see much of anything. It would basically run to 240 right there. So minerals, they are part of drill, baby, drill. All right, let me know your thoughts, let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Hey, I appreciate you so much.